Hey, curious dude here. If my cheeks are rosy, it's because I've been outside shoveling for the last hour and a half as we've had a big storm where I live. It's been a while since I've given an update. So in this video, I'm actually going to compile all the videos I did for a 1972 Westfalia that my son, who was a young teenager at the time, and I bought during the pandemic and sort of rescued it and brought it back to life. So I hope you enjoy learning a little bit more about Gus. Forgive the filming quality, and some of the sound's not the best, but you'll get a sense of the journey that we had. Thanks for watching.
All right, YouTube. So we are going to take a walk around of a new purchase in our family. This is a 1972 Volkswagen Westfalia camper van. And yeah, it's rough and complete, and you can watch another video about how I found it and buying. But let's take a walk through and take a. Honestly, other than having a quick look at this, a few inspections, I have not actually looked inside the vehicle very deeply. So this is the first time I'm getting a chance to do that too. So we'll start with a walk around, and it's a 72, so it's an early bay. And although I'm fairly new to the bus situation, you know, it's fairly complete. So obviously someone's enjoyed stealing the Volkswagen emblem, and it has these weird clasps on the top of the popper top. I'm not sure what that's all about. It has plenty of dents on the front, but in checking all the metal with the spot rot gauge and stuff, this is all solid metal. So the front end, the valance and all that looks to be okay. The bumpers are there, some crusties there. And when we get down this side, the driver's side, there's some damage to the door. The dog leg, there's been some repair and bodywork done on this vehicle at some point in the past. It's pretty obvious when you look up close. You know, we've got some interesting things. We've got a pinhole and a nice patch of rust on that side. Some plastic and Bondo kind of throughout the bus, but it doesn't seem to be overwhelming. A lot of the rust issues are related to the sheet metal. Underneath, we did a lot of poking around before we bought it. The outriggers and the frame and even the floor pan seem to be very, very solid, so we can manage to poke anywhere through. So what are we missing back here? We've got I guess we got a turn signal, or we got a side light. It's busted and hanging down. We've got taillights are there, which is kind of a nice surprise. Bumpers in place. Take a look on this side. Here it gets a little more crusty. You can see what's going on in that quarter panel. Lots to do there. Looks like it was hit a little bit on the back corner here. It's bent the bumper in. Can't say, does it even have a gas cap? Let's find out. Hey, well, it does. There we go. So fantastic. Okay. Some issues with the door. Yes, for sure. Made the mistake of just cracking the door open when we were buying it, and the door fell off. So I think it's just safe to say that the door track on the bottom is rotten. But it appears to be like mostly original. You know, the original curtains are in it, and we'll take a closer look inside and we'll take a look. So let's do this together. Let's go over to the driver's side and we'll start from in there. All right, here we go. 2005. Looks like it was camping at some point in its past. Good start. Here we go. Door panel, a little water damage, a little wrinkle. And then as you can see, the windows were down in the bus for 3 to 5 years as a SAT. And so it's got lots of soiling, lots of dust kind of throughout. We'll take a closer look in the cabin, but you know, here we go. Lots of bugs, mouse droppings. Yeah, it needs a serious clean. The floors look horrible. There appears to be spark plugs sitting on the floor there, which makes me kind of nervous. I'd like to know why they're out. But if you take up the rubber and take a look, you know, there's some spots there, but the pan itself seems to be mostly there. Same thing when we get under here, and all this. So there's some surface rust on there, but that seems to be like solid and workable. Some damage underneath here, where where that dent was, and the headlight buckets are leaking. So there's a little bit of rust in there, but really looks pretty horrific at first glance. But once you start looking past that, looks okay. Data plates back there. What all do we have in there? Well, let's go around and take a look at that side. Do you want to open the door for me?
Sure.
All right, we'll get. Yeah, squeeze hard. It's pretty sticky. There we go. Thank you. All right, door panel. Oh, fantastic. We get a little history here. No idea what Kemper means, but band, who knows? I'm sure this bus has got quite a story. A little history. Okay, so from this side, same thing. Here we go there. Yeah, well, he said it was running and driving. Obviously not recently, but 3 years ago, and then it wouldn't run right, and he kind of parked it from there. So got the spot where the seat is. Data tag. We got a bunch of miscellaneous in here. So I got the jack in here. That's cool, and no idea what that is. I don't know enough about buses yet. I'm sure I'll learn. A box with a looks to be one headlight ring in there. Anyways, hey, they're both there. Fantastic. Something else. This might be fun. Bugs and mouse poop. Fantastic. Good mix. So there we go. So let's because I don't trust the sliding door. Hey, what do we got here? We got a button. Buffalo Days, Regina, Saskatchewan. Not sure what year that is, but bit of a story, I'm sure. Okay, let's get inside here. Ugh. Okay, so here we are. So original curtains throughout the bus. At least they look semi-original, kind of interesting. We'll take a closer look at this one here in a minute. I believe, from what I know, this is the original interior, like the vinyl finish and stuff. And other than some wear marks on the one, kind of the jump seat or whatever it's called, it seems to all kind of be in place. So he's got a ratchet strap to hold the top down, which we'll pop off in a minute and take a look. But looks to kind of all be here. So we're gonna go around. We'll take a look at the back of the bus, and we'll come back inside once I get the sliding door. Let's take a look out back. So the hatch up, and back here, what we have is there's the seat. The spare's still in place with the spare cover, and then in here, let's see what we have here. Right on. We've got the manual. Interesting. And parts of carburetor. Tell you more about that in a minute. And then in this one here, we've got another carburetor. Yeah, interesting. Okay. This door's open. All of this seems to have fallen down, or I'm afraid to look in there, but we'll put the camera in there and see. And we got mouse poop. Lots of mouse poop. Well, it sort of shuts. And back here. So underneath the seat here, we've got, that's the carb. These are all top of the carbs, some gasket material. Yeah, awesome. Gross. Okay, and what we got here? Points. Yeah, I guess we need those, don't we? So yeah, that's what all is going back here. Let's take a look under here. As you can see by the plate in our province, it was last plated in August 2007. So this 72, it should be a dual carbureted motor. It is not. I don't know, when the owner bought it, it had this intake system on it. The good news is he did seal it when he couldn't get it running right. So I don't know. I'm gonna guess that this whole thing needs to come out. I'm sure it's all moused up inside the tin and everything and other issues, but back in the corners, like, this is a little surface rust, but it's all there. Unbelievably, it still has some sort of a battery in it. Yeah, like all the pieces that I think I would like to hope would be in place are there. And hey, oh, well, there's an unexpected. Right on. Okay, I guess we have one of those lights. So let's see. Haven't tried to turn it over, or haven't tried to spin it. I don't know. In fact, this is probably something to do right now. Pray that it has oil in it, and it does. It does have oil in it. That's a good thing. So, yeah, lots to do, and we'll see. We'll see. Some surface rust on here, but nothing too out of shape. Bumpers there. Underneath here, we've got bumpers there. There's the little shot of undercarriage. Some of the cooling tins and everything. Tires hold air, which was a nice surprise. Okay, so we're looking under the rear wheel this time, and I don't know why the frame was sprayed red, but it's actually pretty solid. Lots of paint flaking, but nothing that's rot through down here. One little trouble spot I could see was off the heat tube. I could definitely see some damage to that front part of the beam. That's going to be fun. Those outriggers, the jacking outriggers are fine, but the other piece, there's a lot going on in there. So front end, and the drain for, must be the water in for the sink, still in place. Can see we got some issues in our rockers, kind of chunky. And on the other side, they're separated, but I have seen a lot worse and a lot lesser vehicles, and I guess it's going to give us a reason to learn how to weld. So, okay. Hatch is in pretty good shape overall. All right, I'm going to pause and we'll take a look inside. Okay, so I slid the door open carefully because it does want to pop off the tracks, but we'll take a little look at a little stock of what we've got here. So this is this little flip-up table. It's broken, but seems to be there. The thing that's got me the most worried is the sliding track, and I can see in here that, yeah, there's all kinds of parts. It's pretty rotten, and I can only imagine that there's no rollers in place or anything. He added a floor at some point. I mean, as part of the demousing, we'll be pulling that all out. Okay, so I've never looked in here. What do we have here? Little storage area. Nice. Here, this will be fun. This is the ice box. Let's take a look. Well, lots of styrofoam. I don't know. Well, that'll be interesting. It's there. It smells a little funky. This here, there's the sink unit. Some sort of seatbelt clamp maybe. Sink. And what all do we have there? Looks like we got like the mirror there. Oh, that's how that works. That just slides over. Yeah, that's probably part of the drain that was in there at some point. Anyways, lots of mice feces there. I'll be dealing with that another time, but it's plenty dirty. What do we got going on here? So there's that jump seat. Little table that we'll pull out. This seat, I think it's called, I don't know the right name, it's called a rocker bed, where you can pull it up and fold it out. Yeah, something like this. What do we got there? We got a whole bunch of more mouse. Came with a free propane catalytic heater. Not sure we'll be worrying about that. And this is called, I believe, the wardrobe. And nothing in the wardrobe. Oh, little mirror, cool. So I don't know if I can, maybe somebody will comment below. I don't know if you can buy these reproduction type things that have melted or not, or if I need to just redo all of the cabinetry. I have no idea how it all works. But yeah, very, very cool. Let's check out this. I believe this extends out. Let's forgive the angle. Yeah, it extends out and the leg pulls down and it's there. That's cool. We'll plug there. And I'm gonna turn things over, and then what do we have up there? Or up here? Hey, some metal up there. And I don't know, whole bunch of mouse history up there is what we've got going on. All right, so I'm gonna pause and we'll put the top up. Let's see how this works. You got it?
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so crawled in and just propped the top. So it's give you a closer look inside. So I mean, I assume that's the original canvas top. The mice, I should say, I'm sure it took more than one. You know, they rotted and ate a hole through that side of the tent. But all the framework works and it went up easy. And I don't know if, you know, I don't know how good quality is. I don't know if that's something I can patch or what, I don't know. It's a long-term project, but all those pieces are on there. Doesn't appear to be too much rot or anything on the roof, but it's all there. We'll take a look on the inside. So if we get in here, we can see some soiling. There's the locking clamp. Yep. More mouse remnants. But it's all here, and it's rotting through on that corner. You can see it's been wet. It might just be rot, but anyways, and then it has these early bays have this crazy cot situation. It's quite a bit of room up here if you had like a captain's bed, but this it does work, but you can flip this out and you've got a cot. I'm pretty sure it should have had a stool here that you can use to actually climb up in here for if you're a young person or kid or whatever, but it's all there. And hey, sweet, I just realized I'm pretty sure this is, well, that's the kids' cot, I think, maybe that would have went in the front. I think, at least I believe that was an option. This bus also comes with I think it had an extra tent option that went on the outside. I'll try and yeah, so there's some stuff in there. There's a tarp and there's a few more pieces of metal that are back inside here. I can't quite get a look at it, but it's but this is you know, it's complete. It's rotten. It's our first bus is what it is. Okay, so I wanted to just show you what's inside here. I found inside here, of course, I found mice, but it looks like the kids' cot units there. Some tarps. There might be something in behind, and I noticed in here, back there, seems to be the original. It would have been the screens that would have clipped in around, I assume, the front windows. So that's good. The tent. There's a bit of a roof rack here. It looks like the wood's all rotten, but the metal structure and so forth is still there. So gives you a little sense of what we had. So we'll do another video where we'll do once we do a proper cleaning, give you a sense of what it's all about and tell you more about the history that I know of it and our plans for it. It's our first bus. It's a project, and it goes along with that. So that's our first V-dub, but there's a strange thing that seems to happen. When you have one, you'll find more. Anyways, there you go, Gus, the crunchy bus. As you can see how much is coming off. The fiberglass doesn't appear to be cracked or anything, so it still has a smooth surface, but we'll keep pressing ahead. All right, here we go. So we are done washing, we've let it dry, and let's take a closer look and see what you think. We use simple green and a coarse brush to scrub most of the roof, and there's lots of moss on top. It seemed to come out, and none of the fiberglass has cracks in it, so I think that's good. I don't know. Looks a lot better, that's for sure. Didn't find anything more concerning than we knew before. The gutters on the top were good, which is awesome. So we just cleaned that all out. Haven't done anything on the other than the exterior of a wash here now. But amazing how much of a difference it makes in the truck having not been washed for probably 15 years or so. And it sat where it sat in an alley on a bit of an angle. And so this side of the bus was exposed to kind of the splashing. I think that's maybe why there's a little bit more rust on there. But yeah, it cleaned up okay. And actually, depending on the angle you get, you actually can almost see there. Yeah, you can see a little bit, like there's a little bit of shine to the paint. So we'll give it a polish, and it might even look better in the driveway. My son, who's the part owner of this, he really likes the polish, so we'll see if he can find some magic polish to get rid of that rust. Okay, so there we go. There's Gus, the crunchy bus, episode 2 with a wash. Much better. And the wheels cleaned up really well. I was surprised. But the chrome's all beat up and pitted, but with a little more polish, I'm sure it'll turn out even better. All right, YouTube, Curious Dude back here with another update on Gus the Crunchy Bus. So last night, we went through and started removing the interior. And we have taken out all the cabinets, all the seats. We've left the interior paneling. The wood paneling is still in place. Looks like they did some painting at one point. Notice some water staining and damage on this floor. I don't believe, well, this would have been added in at one point. I believe the floors originally ended at the bench at the bed area. So soon we'll pull this out and see what kind of surprise we have in there. Front floorboards, a few patches, but nothing too crazy going on there, which is great. These seats, obviously they're all pulled out, and we'll get this rubber matting pulled up and all demoused and cleaned. But yeah, so made steady progress, and soon we'll take a look when we pull out the panels and the floor, and we'll get a better idea of what we're in for on the restoration or the saving of Gus the Crunchy Bus. Here's another update. So I removed the first layer of plywood, maybe 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, and underneath it is this kind of glued type particle board. It's like a chipboard of some kind. And I have no idea if that's what was in an original 72 bus, if that's like the layout for the floor or not. But we'll pull this up and we'll see how bad the floors are. Okay, here we are about an hour later. I've got all the rubber matting out and the floor out. Lovely. Some rust. Yes, without question. Good news is that for the most part, it's all still solid metal. So there's some gray primer on here. So at some point when they put the other floor down, they did a nice job of cleaning it up and put some more paint down, which might save me from replacing the entire floor pan. Little sketchy here in the corner against the back seat where the water would have pooled, but otherwise it seems to be mostly solid metal, so this is good. I've got some of the interior panels off. You can see the mice were inside every panel. In fact, and on this side here too, but got the ceiling panels out. But then I got to the front one and I could tell there might be a bit of mouse in there. So I think you can see that they've pulled all the insulation up and made bedding back there. So I've been wearing a mask the entire time that I've been doing this work, of course. And I'm gonna pause it here and go get a mask and we'll pull out the rest of that. But all in all, Gus the Crunchy Bus is still fairly solid. Has some crusty bits, as goes without saying, but overall, impressed with the condition here. All right, here we are at the end of a day of cleaning, and it gives you a little better look at the floor. Some rust spots, nothing that's through completely, but some things to attend to. Also in the rear corners, everything's been cleaned out. We got the headliner out now and all got rid of all the mice and all the feces and cleaned and cleaned and cleaned. So looking a lot better. You can see up here underneath the seats, in good shape here. A little bit of rust by this one anchor point. Same thing on the other side, but all in all, salvageable, and looking forward to the road ahead. All right, so today's project on Gus the Crunchy Bus has to deal with the seats. We've tidied up the passenger side. This is the driver's seat, and as you can see, it is sat exposed to all kinds of elements over the years. Lots of scuffs and dirt and grime kind of embedded throughout the vinyl, so we're going to do some cleaning. I did a little wiping on this corner already, and you can notice the difference, but we'll see how we do with this project. We're going to leave the seats the way they are. Rustic would be a way to define it. And here's what we're going to use today. We are going to use some dish soap, a soft brush, some simple green, coarse paper towel, and the magic eraser. We're going to try it on some of the scuffs, and of course some water. So I don't think normally you'd ever really want to use a degreaser on vinyl, but for an old used up seat like this that we're just trying to kind of save and stop it from smelling so badly and get some soiling out, I think a degreaser is a-okay for this project. All right, let's see how we do. All right, so if you take a look at the side I did here, this is with a layer of simple green scrubbing all ways, and then I used a little bit of just Dawn dish detergent, and you can see like they're still staining, but really easy to notice the difference, all the dirt and grime that's come out. I haven't used any of the VLR vinyl treatment yet. We'll do a little bit on here, and we'll see if that continues to clean or tidy it up some more. All right, so now we're halfway through this seat. We've done the back side, and we've done the seat cushion part. Now we're going to do the back component using the same technique of some simple green followed by dish detergent, and we'll finish it up with some Mother's VLR. Let's have a look. Okay, so there we are washed now. And if you look at the earlier part of the video, certainly a little bit cleaner. We'll put a picture up in a moment, but let's try using that Mother's VLR and see if we even get more originality back. All right, so here's an update. We now have the seats back into the bus. They turned out actually really well considering how soiled these were and how damaged they were. In fact, there's even a little bit of softness to the vinyl and even squeaking right now. So definitely the simple green cut through the heavy grease and the soiling, as the windows were down on this bus for a long time. And then the Dawn dish detergent really lifted out some of the lighter stains. And then we treated them, and you know what, this will do the job for this bus for right now. We'll throw some seat covers on it, and we'll consider this job finished. All right, so that's an update on Gus the Crunchy Bus. Thanks a lot for watching. Really, we're just wanting to know if we can get any kind of action out of it. The ignition switch works or not. All right, Curious Dude here with an update on Gus the Crunchy Bus. So today's focus, we are going to talk about the motor. So this is a 1700cc flat 4 Type 4 engine. I have never worked on a Type 4. I know basically what I've read in books and of course the Samba and talked to a few people, but this one will not run, obviously because it's missing a carburetor. And I'll show you a little bit more about that story in a bit. Allegedly ran 5 years ago, had some issues, wouldn't come down off high idle, and then the motor would kind of rev uncontrollably. So the previous owner drove it around a bit and then just pulled it off. Literally took the carb apart and put it in a box. And I'll give you a little tour of that later and show you more. So this is a Type 4 1700. This is the wrong intake system on here. It should have dual carbs. This serial number, if you look this up, this is I believe to be the original motor for the bus, and it should have come with dual carbs. We know that from the M plate, and of course from being the 72 model that it is, so that's something we need to look at. But before I spend any money on anything related to the powertrain, we want to kind of assess what we have or what we're working with, and so that's the focus of today. And so my son here will get a little help. So Chris, what did we say again do we need for this to run?
The fuel, air, and spark.
You got it, man. Fuel, air, and spark. So we're going to take some time to kind of look. We want to know if the motor's stuck. We're going to pull out the plugs. We'll check the plugs. We're going to check a little bit of the oil and see if there's any water in the crankcase. Shouldn't be, but possibility. We'll talk about fuel. And if everything goes well, actually, we're hoping we can hook up a battery and see if we can get this thing to at least turn to know that it's not stuck. Okay, more to come. Okay, so we'll do a little closer inspection. Some things we noticed right away. The alternator's loose, which really isn't going to matter for right now. There's oil in the crankcase. We've checked that. Squirrel cage is tight. We've got a host of issues going on with some electrical here. This looks to be unplugged. This red wire, I'll show you what this is traced back to in a moment. It makes a little bit more sense. Some sort of a yellow jumper that's tied to nothing. Adventures. You can see the back, you can see there's a fuel filter. So I'll show you underneath what they did. Obviously the mechanical fuel pump stopped working, so they put an electric pump on and then they routed that through. There's a filter there, obviously where the carb was. Great news is that when he pulled the carburetor off, he sealed the intake system. So that's hopefully going to help us out a great deal. What else can we see here? Looks to be very, very stock and original. And yeah, so I think the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take a moment. We're going to pull some plugs out and we'll take a look at what we've got. All right, before we actually pull those plugs, let's take a closer look underneath here. Let's see. All right, rusty exhaust. What do we got going under here? We got some leaks. Obviously, that's part of having an air-cooled Volkswagen. Many leaks, although not seem that bad to be honest. Transaxle, and then we get up here, and here's what I was mentioning earlier, the fuel line. So the fuel line here comes out from the tank. You can just see it up the top through this filter. The hose is cracked. It's so that the tank is evaporated completely. But then there's a electric pump added on, which is great. And then this line here feeds up to where the carburetor was. So this red lead here coming off this pump is actually what's looked like it was hooked up directly to the coil. So we'll actually be able to add 12 volts and we'll see if this pump works. Obviously that's going to be a key part about whether we ever get fuel or how we get fuel into the engine. Okay, so we'll pull off cylinder number 1 and then my son will do the other ones, but we'll pull the plug and see now. So this 72 doesn't have a hatch from the cabin area. So this is like a nightmare to work on. You pretty much got to jam your head in here to see. So let's pull a plug and find out what they look like. Oh, there we go. There's plug number 1. And what do we see on there? I see remnants of anti-seize. Maybe evidence of a little bit of detonation. I'm not sure if it's a little bit of metal flakes, but I don't see mechanical damage or anything, so that's definitely a good sign, and it is a champion N11YC. I'm not sure if that's the right plug for this or not, but it's something we'll check out. So that's number one. Let's see what number two looks like. All right, we're pausing for a moment to talk about spark plug removal. A disclaimer, first of all, I am not a licensed mechanic. I mean, I've grown up around cars and a passion for, saving things, but over time you come across certain problems that you need to solve. So I'm just going to share one that I'm going to use right away. So one of the issues with this Type 4 is that the number 1 cylinder and 4 cylinder, the cooling tin is very high up. So if I'm going to use, it's high up from the cylinder head. So you can see is that this tool actually will not hold a spark plug. So when I pull it out of the cooling tin, it's going to fall, it's going to be against the head. I'm going to have a nightmare trying to fish it out of there. So what we did is I took, and this is the same socket, but I modified it just slightly. And you'll notice that there's a rubber plug-in on the inside. And what I did was just take a piece of white plastic tie and cut it off, and I wedged it in between the socket itself and the rubber. And now, when we press down on the spark plug, it's like it was originally, it'll hold it. So it's gonna make it easier to install and of course to remove, especially with cylinders 1 and 4. So now we'll go over and we'll attack that. So now we'll go down. And number 2, like I said, is really deep off of the cooling tin. And so, there we go. Get on there. And there's number 2. And it looks a lot like number 1 did. A little white, some flecks on it. What I'm most interested in is no mechanical damage to it. And so, a little sooty, but I can live with that. Okay, so that's number 2. There we go. Number 4. So number 4 definitely looks a little bit more soot on there. But it comes off really easy, but no mechanical damage on there. So that's what we want to see. Fantastic. Okay, so now we'll tack our last cylinder. And let's see what we have here. What do we have? We have a little bit more carbon on this side, but again, no mechanical damage, which is kind of what we were looking for at first. So yeah, we can live with that. We'll put that back, put a little lubricant in the cylinder, and we'll put it back in. So we feel confident that the cylinders don't have any mechanical damage. So I'm gonna try and spin the motor. It's in neutral. I've not tried this yet. Really hoping that it moves. We'll see. Put some tension on here. And we're just on the alternator. Pulley. Let's see here. Forgive my. Okay, let's go. Hey, I got it. It moves. It's not stuck at all. Very easily rotates. There's a little bit of compression. Fantastic. It's not stuck. Fantastic. Okay, so update. So we loosened the drain on the pan, and all that came out was black oil. So good sign there's no moisture in the motor. So we know mechanically looks fine. It rolls over. This is all very good. We did a quick hot test on the fuel pump, and the fuel pump was clicking. So we know that there's a little bit of, the pump is trying to work anyway. So next step is we're gonna try and add 12 volts, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully no sparks, hopefully nothing melting, but maybe even a sign that maybe the motor even will click over a turn or two. Okay. So got this grounded, and what we're trying to do is just see what we get here. I can hear the fuel pump clicking, so that's a good sign. So next thing we're gonna do is just gonna get some reasonable connection on that. That is sketchy as can be. It's okay. We're not. Okay, come on in. Let's take a look. Okay, so the fuse box is underneath here. We've got 12 volts, like legit from my running vehicle on. And we'll just see if we get any difference. Flashers flashed. Oil lights on. I'm gonna pop in. I think there's a lot of electrical stuff going on here. Really, we're just wanting to know if we can get any kind of action out of it, but if the ignition switch works or not. Whoa! Did you hear that? Go back to the motor and I'll do it one more time. All right, fantastic. So here's an update on the carburetor situation. I mentioned earlier, this bus should come with dual carburetors, and it does not have that. It has single carb. This is the carb that came with it. The owner had said it never ran right. It kept revving out of control. And so he took the carb apart and put it inside a Folgers can. And that's basically, to look at the older video, that's how we picked it up. So I went through, I carb soaked it, and I went through and I found through some internet sleuthing that this is a 34 TCIC. It's, I believe, a progressive carb that was available in the aftermarket back in the 70s and into the 80s. Anyways, you can't buy parts for this. And even worse, everything in red is a part that's missing inside the carburetor. There's several screws that were damaged, threads that were missing. There's binding. It is a mess. This is just going to be an ornament on the shelf. We're not going to do anything with this, but we're going to have to make a decision about the bus, whether we just spend the money now and get the dual carb set up, something like 34 Solexes or Cadrons or Webers. I mean, there's a million different options, and go back to the way it was originally, or whether I utilize the current intake and try and find a different 2-barrel on the cheap that we might use. Like, I think in the big picture, it's better to go back to the dual carb original setup. But if we can find a cheap carb for 50 bucks, maybe we'll have this bus rolling sooner than later. Very successful day. We know that the cylinders are okay. It will turn over. We know that there's no water in the crankcase. The plugs look okay. Electrically, there's enough connection there for it to even turn. And the electric fuel pump works, so don't even have to pull the tank. We can run it off of jerry can. So really successful day, really excited. Great update for Gus, the crunchy bus. And thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more updates as we try and rescue this lost 72 Campmobile. Hi, Curious Dude here with another update on the 72 Westfalia Gus, the crunchy bus. So today we are going to take a closer look at the engine. So in an earlier episode, we did a check on the spark plugs. There's no mechanical damage. Some interesting facts about the spark plugs, which we'll share with you later. But today we're going to do a compression test. The engine, there's no way to warm it. It has no carburetor. So basically I'm going to add about a tablespoon of oil, 30 weight, into each cylinder. We'll give it 6, 8, 10 cranks, and you'll follow along with us, and we'll see what kind of a reading we get in each of the cylinders. Okay, so we've put a little oil in the cylinder. We've got a little better gauge here, and we'll give it 8 or 10 cranks and see what we get for wet compression on a cold, abandoned Type 4 engine. Go ahead, Chris, crank it. Okay, stop. All right, so we had about 75 PSI on cylinder number 1. So now we're on number 2, which is one we checked earlier, and it was really low. So we'll see how this works with the oil. Okay, Chris, crank it. Okay. All right, about 75 PSI as well. What am I checking? Why am I checking PSI? So an engine, right, is an air pump. And so the pounds per square inch of pressure that can be built in the cylinder relates to the well-being of the engine. So if it has even PSI across all the cylinders and has lots of pressure, which is different for each engine, that tells us that, you know, the engine might be in reasonable health. The rings are sealing, the valves are sealing. You might be able to make it run. And that's what we're trying to do in this case. My hope is that, you know, the cylinders are fairly even and that we're building some pressure. I think in the Bentley manual, or maybe it was on Ratwell, like 81 to 120 is sort of evidence of a good running motor. Of course, with you know, about 20 psi difference between the cylinders, but any more than that or any less than that could mean a well-worn engine, and we're just trying to save this. So hopefully that's the case here. Now we're on to cylinder number 3, and we'll see what we get for reading. Okay, Chris, crank it. Okay, stop. Okay, so on that one, we were only around 60, 65 PSI, a little lower than we want. So, okay, here we are there on final cylinder. And if you hear me panting, I'm sorry. It's like where we live is in the Canadian prairies, and it's hot. It's 36 degrees, which is like 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's raining. So this is unusual weather for us. Excuse my panting. Okay, Chris, let's try this last one. Go ahead. Okay. Okay, so we got up to 100 PSI on that cylinder. That's very good. Okay, so let's talk about final results and then look at these plugs. So cylinder pressure 175, 275, 365, eek, getting scary, and 4 is 100. If you look for 1700, I think the lowest limit is around 80 PSI, with a difference of 20 PSI being acceptable. Well, I have one cylinder below 80, so that's not good. What's more concerning is that the biggest difference is in excess of 30 PSI between cylinders 3 and 4. Now, to complicate this a little bit, this engine hasn't been run for years and years, like maybe 13 years. So the engine is cold. There's some expansion that happens with the rings and pistons and fit that may increase these values. The valve lash is at 12,000, which I'm pretty sure is about double what it should be. So that's also affecting some cylinder pressure. So, you know, this here is enough to say that engine is probably tired, quite tired, and it's going to be needing a rebuild. Will it run the way it is? Yeah, it might. And that's the kind of route we're going to take with this project. We'll try and get it running, and then we can look at next steps. And, you know, once we've got it run, and tuned properly, then we can take another compression test and see. But here's an interesting piece. So these were the plugs that came out of it, which other than a little bit of soiling, a little bit of carbon deposit, and so forth, you know, they obviously ran the vehicle at one point. But what's kind of neat is that we went and Googled up Champion N11YC plugs just to see what they all fit. Well, you know what they fit? They fit small engines. So these are basically lawnmower spark plugs. So the fact that they were running in the Volkswagen is cool, interesting, and a little bit scary at the same time, because I'm not sure mechanically what else was done to the motor and to the truck, or to the bus in the past. But anyways, we're definitely going to replace those with some proper Bosch or NGK plugs, and keep pressing along. So that's an update on the compression. Not necessarily good news, but enough that we're going to press ahead and try and get this thing fired up. We're going to order some great, some dual Weber ICTs or some Solexes from CB Performance, and we'll look forward to putting those on and getting some fuel to the motor. We know that it does spark. We did a spark test, so that's great. And yeah, so that's an update on Gus the Crunchy Bus. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll stay tuned for more. Hey, Curious Dude here with an update on Gus the Crunchy Bus. We have been spending some time working on the interior, trying to clean it up and semi-restore it to mostly original condition while we await parts. We've got a bunch of pieces on order from CB Performance and CIP1, and so until that stuff arrives, we're busy doing some cleaning. So I'm going to share with you one tip that has been really helpful for making our old worn out original Westfalia interior look a lot newer. And so that captain's seat you're looking at there, that was kind of a grungy mess. If you look back to some other videos, and cleaned up pretty nice. So let's take a look at what my tip is. Okay, there's two things that are going to help you out a tremendous amount. Number one, steel wool, really fine. So this is 00, you can even get finer. This does an amazing job at cleaning up all of the trim work. And if you have any paint or stain or spray, this does a great job at cleaning it up. But it will literally, with a light buff, it will make that trim come clean. And so there's a lot of trim, obviously, to clean on a Westie. The other thing is when you come across a lot of these interiors, the plastic or the rubber, I guess it is, it's the trim end is now, you know, it's melted in the sun or it's deformed. Well, it's really easy to fix. So all you do is remove it. And so in my case, this wasn't bent right. Right over here, I've got a ridiculously small pot of hot water. This was boiling. It's not quite boiling anymore. But the second that you do that, it's going to become pliable. And what you can do is you just submerge it for a few minutes, and what you're going to find is it's going to become pliable again. And then you can reapply it and position it the way you want. And so this was an easy way. It cost us $0, and we're able to restore all the trim actually inside the cabinetry and make it look good as new. So that's my tip. That's an update from Gus the Crunchy Bus. I look forward to more updates here in the time ahead. Thanks for watching.
What do we have here? Fantastic is what we have here. So we placed an order a few weeks back for some parts that we needed for the bus to help Gus become a running bus rather than a, well, rather than non-moving. So we have a box here. Let's take a look and see what we received from CB Performance. Ooh. What do we have here? Let's see, take a closer look. Carburetors, Chris. Carburetor, Brussels carburetor box, anyways. Appears to be 2 of them. And manifolds, let's take a look at that. So, what do we have here? Fantastic, CB Performance. So, we have bought ourselves a couple air cleaners. You know, it's interesting. Those air cleaners look very different than what they look like online. They actually look kind of almost performance oriented. What else we got going on in here? Ooh, sweet. What's we got going on in here? We have got linkage, very important. It's not a hex bar, but it is going to be great linkage for our carb set here. Fantastic. Right on. And some fuel line and sticker pack. Those are going to look great. We know where we'll put those on the bus and elsewhere. Fantastic. Anything else? Pull in there. Is there anything else inside? Anything else over there? There should be one more package. I ordered, there should be 3 packages in there. Is there anything else?
What?
Is there something behind you that you moved over there? Very slippery. Oh yes. Well, Gus the Crunchy Bus needs to look good too, but so does one of the owners. So we ourselves at CB Performance, let's open that up and let's take a look. Can you mind opening that up? I want to take a look and see how it's going to look on me. And spread out, let's see the whole thing here. Oh yeah, that's fantastic.
Want to see the back?
Yeah, I want to see the back. Anything cool on there? Yes, there's something really cool on there. Right on. Fantastic, it looks great. Yeah, so we have basically Solex dual carb kit. This is like factory kit 34s for the Gus the Crunchy Bus. And so you'll be able to watch along here in the next few episodes as we
get this on Gus with the hope of a startup here in the next few weeks. Yeah, cut them open. Let's see what we have there. Let's take a look at one of these carbs. Now, you want to unwrap? Oh, it's got some, so we had like lots of choices we can make when we were looking at carburetors. Like we thought about ICTs, we thought about IDFs, Cadrons, all kinds of things. And I know people have like really strong opinions about all of this stuff, what works for them. For me though, I wanted simple, stock as we could go. We're not really super into the performance thing for the bus. We really just want to get it running. But the kind of deal breaker for me is I wanted to have a good proven carburetor with an electric choke. This is like super important because where we live, we have winter, like real winter. And I don't know what the future for this bus holds. Like we might have it for our whole life, or you know what, if it goes on to a new owner, it needs to be something that people can utilize and you know, run properly and know that we're working with good parts. And I know wholeheartedly that CB Performance is renowned for quality, and so I'm trusting that they're not going to sell garbage, and so I'm sure we're going to be real happy with these. So yeah, so there we go. Let's open one up and take a closer look. Okay, so here we are unwrapped. Looks great, all new. Looks absolutely amazing. I'm impressed with that. All the components. Yeah, it's fantastic. Make sure that the throttles don't bind. Can't imagine they would. No. Wow. You do not get that feeling in a 50-year-old carburetor. Yeah, so these will be fantastic. You can watch for updates. We're looking forward to getting Gus running. Thanks again for watching. All right, Curious Dude here with Gus the Crunchy Bus. It's been a while since we've had an update. We have been well busy with life, back to school for both of us, and adjusting to new normal. And we're finally at the point where we've got the bus ready to do an initial startup. So we have installed our new 34 Solex kit from courtesy CB Performance. We've got the linkage loosely installed. We've got fresh oil. We've checked the spark. Honestly, we spent a month just dealing with minor little problems. The alternator belt wasn't tight. Turned out there was some missing brackets underneath, so we took care of that. Throttle cable was a bit of an adventure. We eventually solved that, so the throttle cable is installed and hooked up and working. And you're with us to see if this thing will actually start. So there's fuel in, nothing's pouring out, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we have an electric fuel pump in this thing. All the lines have been redone. So first step is going to be just to turn the ignition to get the pump, which we know works, to pressurize the carburetors and see if we have any leaks. So let's see what happens here. Okay, here we are. No leaks. We'll see what happens.
Oh, got a flame come back out of the right carburetor.
Okay.
Yeah, and steam pretty good.
Then there's smoke, steam, something rolling out. So it's
and
at
there's
least
some
it's
coming out of the tailpipe.
at least it's yeah, puffed one out of the tailpipe too. So it was
Okay.
came out the carburetor and the tailpipe. So at least
Okay.
there's some spark and some ignition and.
All right, well, we've spent a few minutes confirming the timing was set correctly, the firing order's right, and yeah, we got nothing. Actually spilled some fuel into the carburetors, and as you can see in the video, we're getting a little bit of backfiring happening. And I think at this point, we're gonna stop and regroup and figure out what we're gonna do next. We know it has spark, but I think probably throwing new plugs, condenser, points, making sure that's all right, and will be the next thing. And then we'll start working on the carburetors, just ensuring that we're getting fuel flow correctly into the chamber. Not quite certain if everything's set correctly there yet. So off to the Samba, and probably asking a lot of noob questions, but that's the way this works. Okay, that's an update from Gus the Crunchy Bus. Thanks again for watching.
Oh, yes.
It ran momentarily.
Progress. Progress.
All right, Curious Dude here, and we are on kind of version 3 of starting the bus. Had a few adventures along the road here. If you see earlier in the video, we had some issues with backfiring, popping, different things. And well, long story short, turns out that the firing order was a bit out of sorts. When I bought the bus, he said, well, it was running the way it was when I put it away and parked it. I trusted that. And I made the mistake of thinking, you know, that the firing order is 1, 4, 3, 2. And if you read that 1 and you read that backwards, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I had a newbie mistake and I had the couple of plug wires mixed up. So, yep, that happens. And so now that they're all back in order and we have fuel and we have no leaks and we have spark and we have everything adjusted, in fact, we're at TDC. The valves are all set to 6 thou. We're ready to try our first real startup. Let's see how it goes.
All right, yep, you can start it. We're good?
Yep.
So it's definitely gonna run. Okay.
Got it.
Okay. Here we go.
Curious Dude here with Gus the Crunchy Bus. It's been a while since we did a video update, so this is an explanation as to why. A lot of effort has been to get carburation, ignition, and things working so that we could actually get the engine running, and you can see that in some of the previous videos we've put up. We encountered a significant roadblock recently. Discovered that in cylinders 1 and 2, the leak down rate is over 60% in both cylinders, not through the heads, but through the rings. Tried a lot of different things to try and make sure the engine was sealed up tight, but there's no escaping the fact that the rings are not doing their job in those 2 cylinders. We are currently going to try a seafoam trick to see if the rings are sticking a bit, and if there's any way that we can get a little bit more compression out of that side of the engine to have it running so it can move under its own power. But if that doesn't work, there's no way around pulling the engine, tearing it down, and seeing what we find out from there. All right, so here's our not so secret attempt at trying to save the rings in this engine. So plugs are out in 1 and 2. I've got my trusty Coleman filter adapter and a piece of clear tubing. Got the old seafoam. I'm not doing anything really scientific here. I've got cylinder number 2, which I'm in right now, is a TDC. So I'm gonna put in a good amount of seafoam so I know that at least the entire chamber and around the rings, hopefully, and the valves, I get a little bit of coating with this. So again, not the most scientific, but we'll see. Hoping that was enough there. Probably about a quarter of a can or so. That should be enough, hopefully, to fill up the chamber and get the rings a little wet with seafoam. You can see that the seafoam, it's a little out of focus, but the seafoam's actually right to the top of the plug hole. So that's good. We know that the entire circumference of the piston, the chamber, everything's got a nice coating of seafoam on it. That's what I'm trying to do. So we'll let that sit. We're gonna let that sit overnight and yeah, see if it makes any impact at all. Gives you a little update why there hasn't been a lot happening. Appreciate you watching, and I hope you're all doing well. Thank you. Hi there, Curious Dude here with an update about Gus the Crunchy Bus. So it's been a couple of weeks since we've given an update, and if you watched the last episode, you know we had some pretty serious issues. We had essentially nearly 0 compression and action in 2 of our cylinders, despite the valves being fine, and we thought the ignition system working well. So some serious issues. So we did the seafoam trick, and we're happy to kind of show you the results of that work. So check it out for yourself. Yeah, that's interesting. So we almost touched 75 PSI. That's encouraging, considering that cylinder is weak. Like, you see how it's like pulsing 20 PSI every stroke. Well, I don't think that's like, it should jump right away up to its PSI level, but that's a lot better than where we were here a few months ago. So, all right, so we've swapped it over to cylinder number 1 now, which also was soaked about partially in seafoam overnight. So let's see what we get now. Yeah, so we were not running on 2 cylinders, really struggling to understand why. Fortunately, one of the friends in the Volkswagen Club lent me a known working SVDA distributor and a known working coil. We've checked all the plugs. We've checked all the ignition wires for resistance. We have really confirmed that it should be running on 4 cylinders, but it just won't. So this is now what feels like take 35 of a fire up of Gus the Crunchy Bus. You want me to roll? Let's see what it does. Well, yeah, I think it's out of I don't know if it's retarded or advanced or what, so no idea. So we'll go that way a bit. See if you get any more difference.
It's running pretty rich. We're trying.
Do me a favor. Will you just crank it like that? I'm just gonna see if I can. Just hang on 1 sec. I just want to see if I can get that. Yeah, go ahead. Okay, stop. That feels like no spark at all to me. So, a good thing is, spark plug tester here. Okay, let's crank it. Stop. Yep, there's spark there.
The thing on the gauge is still going whack whack. Like this.
Oh, this is?
Yeah.
You're joking.
It's still bumping up and down.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it melted it.
Okay, that's not good for our lungs. Maybe that's what it was.
All that smoke?
Yeah.
Oh, it's melting.
Yeah, I don't even.
Plastic.
Let's see.
Tell your mom.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
Are you videoing this?
Yeah.
All right. Don't use good old cheap hose. That's the source of the smoke. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get that. So as you can tell, we're pretty excited that Gus actually runs on 4 cylinders. It's fantastic. It needs a tremendous amount of tuning and a muffler very badly, but we're just excited that it actually runs and it's out of hibernation. There's no weird noises, no crazy shaking. We're just absolutely pumped. So that's great. So thanks a lot for watching. And in our next episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about the brakes, which is the next thing, because soon Gus will drive again. So thanks again for watching, and hope you're all doing well. Hi, Curious Dude here with Gus the Crunchy Bus. And in this brief episode, I'm just going to share a tip that I hope works for removing stuck brake adjusters. So this is an example of the star adjuster that's on the rear drums on our Type 2. And I had an issue because although on the one side they all came out easy, this side, on the driver's side, this little brass piece or alloy piece is actually like rusted into the piece on the backing plate. And I've heated it up with a torch, I've pounded on it, I've broke all the teeth off on the one set already with with a hammer and chisel, and it won't come out. So I'm gonna try something today that I think I might work. So ordinarily the adjuster would just thread in, you know, and then you turn the star adjuster, of course, to get the right set for the depth on the brake shoes. We're gonna take a large bolt. I think it's metric 8 by 25. And basically I'm going to screw it into the locked adjuster like this, and screw it all the way down, and it'll bottom out, hopefully bottom out on the brake adjuster the way it's cast into the back, and it'll actually pop it right out. So let's go and see if it works. So here's the housing where the star adjuster and the bolt jack together. You can see the star adjuster here, the teeth are all marred and broken off, and it's locked right in there. So I'm going to take this bolt, which I know is the same thread and pitch as the other one, and we're going to basically screw it in until it bottoms out in the housing. Put a little bit of pressure on it, and then we might add a little bit of heat is always a good idea. This has been soaked in penetrating oil for several days already, and just refuses to want to move. So we'll try a different technique. This was a tip on Samba, so there's I've got a little bit of torque on it right now, and let's see what happens. And look, can we see what's happening, Chris? Mm-hmm. What's happening?
Oh no.
It's just pulling it out. Easy. I'm not putting much torque on this at all, and amazing. So why is this really a big deal? Because I do not want to pull off the axle hubs and the backing plates and go to that level of work at this stage in our rescuing of Gus. So this is equally effective. So there we go. Let's see. I need a little bit more. And there we are. And so does that work? You bet it does. Super easy tip. Okay. Jack bolt to pull these out. Easy. So we'll do the other side the same way. Let's just give it a wiggle.
You got one, it's fine. I like it.
Is it getting tougher now?
Well, stop.
Let's see now.
No, it's not.
Keep going. It'll get there. I can see the bolt just getting to the bottom now. There, it's at the bottom now. So now, put a little torque on it. Let's see what it does. See if it wants to come at all. And if it doesn't, we'll give it a little heat. Yeah, it might have moved a little bit. Oh, keep going. I see movement. There we go. Fantastic.
Really, Dad?
Yeah, you know I'm totally recording. Listen, so that is like I want to say that bolt cost 13 cents. Maybe it was 17 cents. To remove that, I can't imagine any other way to do that. With the amount of heat I put in there, half that coloring is carbon from the heat, not from brake dust. So there you go, little tip from Gus the Crunchy Bus. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you like what we're doing, please follow. Hey, curious dude here with Gus the Crunchy Bus and my son, who is actually part owner in Gus. We agreed to go 50-50 when we purchased this as a project. And so we're really excited that you're watching. And this is a different kind of video. We wanted to talk about our hopes for 2021 with the bus. So our first thing is we want to get Gus running, and a big check. We got that done. Secondly, we need to rebuild the brakes. They don't really work, and there's some issues there. So you'll be able to see some videos of that shortly, but we're gonna rebuild those brakes. The third thing is that the sliding door, the bottom track is rusted. And so we need to get that repaired. And I'm quite certain that is something that we're not capable of doing yet. And so that's probably a professional job. We'll be looking at some local body shops and some Volkswagen enthusiasts to see who can help us out with that. So that's a big must do. Otherwise the door just falls off, not good. We've also got some new wood. I think it's like 1/8" birch wood for the interior panels. We bought that last year in the summer when we picked up Gus, and so we need to put that interior back together. And part of that, of course, is putting the cabinets back in. We've done a couple videos on cleaning them up on the cheap, basically, but we'll tidy those all up and be sure we get the interior back together. So excited about that. And the shifter has about 8 inches of play in it, so we need to rebuild the shifter and some of that type maintenance work, of course, and all the lubrication and some the work that we'll need to do underneath with the brakes as well would be some suspension. So I think we're probably, the torsion bars seem fine, but the shocks, yeah, they're antiques. They definitely need to go. And the last thing is we need to be sure that the windscreen is replaced. So it's got obviously some big cracks in it, and a lot of Type 2s, I know they leak. And so ours has leaked a little bit, but there doesn't seem to be any damage to the front of the car, of the bus. Fantastic. So we're gonna pull out that windscreen. We're gonna clean up the frame, seal things up properly, do a tiny bit of body work, and put a new windscreen in it for next summer. So the big goal for us in the end is that in 2021, in the summer, we not only want to drive Gus, but we want to take Gus a little ways away from where we live and do an overnighter, true camping trip, and kind of return Gus to its glory. So that's our goals for 2021.
Thanks for watching.
Curious Dude here, and we're working on Gus the Crunchy Bus, and in this episode we're going to go through rebuilding one of the calipers on this 72 bus. There are lots on YouTube, and I'm just going to show you my experience and what worked for me. The first thing we needed to look at was the overall condition, of course, of the caliper, and in our case, although it's a bit rusty, all of the bleed valves work just fine. There was no evidence of any leaking in any way around the seals, the dust seals. So that was pretty cool. So I do have a rebuild kit on stock, but I'm not sure we're actually going to need it. So I'm going to show you kind of how you do this. And the main thing you're going to need is a source of air. You'll need some clamps to hold one side, because you can only do one side or the other of the caliper, of course, because once the piston comes out, you have, well, they both can't come out together or you've got a mess. So we can't do that. You're only doing one side at a time. So we'll just set this up and we'll see what happens. One thing I need to point out right away is that the piston inside there, and it might be hard to see, is clocked in a certain way that the backing plates lock in here. And there's little tabs on them, and it's really important to kind of be sure that you put the piston back in that exact same position with this, so that you'll be able to align your brake pads. There's no way to do that any other way. You can't turn it once it's in. You got to do it right from the first time. So just take note when you take it apart. Keep things set aside so you know where to be going. Okay, so I took a $2 piece of brake line. It's tied into the caliper, hooked to a hose, hooked to compressed air. And I'm going to put a couple of clamps, not on too tight, we're just holding the inside piston in location while we try and get the outside one removed. So that's in place like that. And I'm going to put a little piece of wood here just to slow down. And when I apply pressure here, what should happen is this outside piston should pull in, or should push out. So let's just see. And it's moving out right away. In fact, it's wanting to pop right out. So that's a good thing. It wants to come right out. So it came out without much issue there. And we'll just keep letting it pop out. Now there's a seal on there. So you can see that the seal here is stretching out with the piston. And this seal is in really good condition. I'm pretty confident, yeah. And just a little pressure with the screwdriver, and this seal just wants to come right out. So just like that. So that's great. And I can see the piston there. I can see the outside of it. A little bit of rust on it, pretty clean. And we're just gonna add a little bit more pressure. And there it is. And you hear that pop, out it came. So now we'll take off these couple of clamps. And now this piston, it's a little bit cockeyed. I have to force it out a little bit more. Okay, so the piston came out and it looks dirty, but you can see if we clean it off that it's in really good condition. So what I'll do is I've got some 1500 grit 1500 grit sandpaper, and we'll just take some, I've got some new brake fluid there, and we'll just give this a polish. And if you find any rusty spots, we'll just clean it up. Any ridges. Now, because these were not leaking calipers, you know what, I'm going to trust that the seal is pretty strong. That's already in there with the O-ring, so I'm not, I have no reason to believe that these aren't going to work just fine. I'm going to clean this up. As you can see, maybe a couple of spots to clean up on this side, but otherwise that piston looks to be in really good condition. So, just make sure we got it nice and tidied up and clean. And we'll do the same thing on the inside. Although I can't show you this on video, we're going to do the same process. We're going to do a little bit of a light sanding in there. Make sure that its surface is nice and clean. Okay, so we've got this all cleaned up and ready to go back together. So I'm going to take the backing plate off of the pad and make sure that I've got the piston positioned correctly in here for it to fit. So it goes down like this. So we'll just kind of figure this out. You know, so I know it's definitely gonna go in kind of just like this. Before I do that, take some fresh brake fluid, and let's get that lubricated all over here. Do the same thing on the inside, and make sure I feel good about that. And you know, line it up with that. And this, at this point, we're going to use the clamps, and we've got to force it. Of course, there's an O-ring in there that's a fairly tight seal, so we're going to have to use some careful application of even pressure to be able to squeeze that back into the right place. So we'll just make sure that we feel good about how this is lined up. Looks good. So now we'll turn our attention to starting to clamp this back in. Want to videotape this?
It's going already.
Okay, so yeah, we just do a little bit on each side. I'm sure that there's way better ways of doing this, but this is handy and free for me. Once you get it past the O-ring evenly, you might even be able to move it back easier by hand. You just want to make sure it goes in square, right? Okay, and I'm going to stop it about here. I'm not sure. There's probably a specific, you know, and I'm no expert here, and I'm sure the Bentley would tell you when you put this seal in, but I'm going to put this dust seal back on before it gets bottomed all the way out. Make sure it's over the lip. And again, I'm reusing all this because it was in great condition overall. And the dust seal, it's very easy to put in there. Just sits over the edge. It's very obvious how it goes in. I don't see the need to use a press on this or anything. It's just perfect. There we go. And before I put this in all the way, I'm just going to line up one more time with my pad lineup. And yep, that sits in that refix area perfect. And there, I actually was able to finish the last little bit just with my hands. So Shows you how well that is. So there we go. Got one side done. We're going to clamp and we'll do the other side. Okay, so clamps are reversed. We're on this inside edge. We're on the inside of the caliper. And again, this dust seal was just simple to pry out. So I'll take that out right now. And use my little block of wood here. We'll add a little bit of air pressure. And we should get right away, there we go. Without issue. Clamps are a little low, stopping the piston from moving all the way out. So this piston I can see is a little bit more discolored. So bang-o, that's it. That's exactly the sound. And yeah, so this, you know, obviously there's a little bit of rust and stuff, so we'll just see, but it's not as bad as it first appears. But so we'll clean this all up. We'll run our sandpaper on the inside as well in here, clean this all up and clean it out and put some fresh fluid in. Okay, so we've got it all back together. A generous coating of brake fluid on everything, but we'll clean that up, and these are good. We're ready to go, and we'll go on, and I'm gonna basically do the same thing on the other side, and we'll clean this up, and the next video will actually be installing the brakes on Gus. Thanks for watching.
Curious Dude with Gus the Crunchy Bus here. We're excited, the day has finally arrived. Watch along and find out what's new with Gus. Well, it's been a busy month with Gus. We installed new brakes on front and rear. We rebuilt the calipers. There's a little video about that. And let's see if it works or not. All right, so rebuilt calipers, let's see how we do. Okay. Okay, one more time. Yep. Beauty. That works great. Okay, what about the back? Oh, let's put the wheel on first. Actually, let's not put the wheel on. Let's just make sure. We've already done this. We've checked the emergency brake, but okay, put the brakes on. Oh, not a chance. Lock. How much force do you have? Put your foot, push hard.
All the way down.
Oh yeah, there's nothing there. Okay, good. Thanks, buddy. All right, let's get the wheels on. All right, so wheels on, brakes work, emergency brake works, battery hooked up. Gus has not run in maybe almost 3 months. So first objective will be getting it running, and then we'll see if the clutch works. And if everything's right, Gus should move on his own power and park right out front.
What are you trying to explode the engine or something?
All it has to do with
It wasn't as bad. You could just
No, it's coming down, but it's still running way too high, right? Ready?
Yep.
Okay, so as you can hear, we've got a lot of problems with revving. So these are CB Performance Solex carbs. And what's going on is that there's an internal mechanism connected to the choke. And what happens is it kind of hangs the throttle up internally. And, you know, I definitely need to do a little bit more reading about what all is going on internally. But if I manually take the choke off and then advance the throttle to full, there's a little cam inside the mechanism that allows it to release fully, and then it doesn't hold the throttle open about 1/8 of an inch or so. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of cheating. We just got the battery on, and we're just getting these chokes good and hot so they're off completely, so that when I blip the throttle like I just did a minute ago, it doesn't just rev up to 2,000 RPM. So at least we can try to idle the bus out of the driveway. So lots to figure out and understand more with the carburetors. I've had a hard time. There you can see that little space in between the adjustment. That's the space taken up by this. But if we take the choke off fully and we advance the throttle, yeah, and it still won't come off. But there's a little cam inside this mechanism that I'll have to figure out how to adjust or change, or I'm not sure. More to come. Afraid to turn it off, I must admit. What do you think? I don't know, man. Okay. No scary noises. That's pretty smooth. Stop blowing smoke. I'm gonna stand away from these dogs. Don't let it get good and hot. Use the muffler. The brakes stopped it. It stopped it. What? I am. She started quicker than Arya's car. Again, we've got this out of control revving. Don't put it in reverse, just let it. Reverse works, yeah. Wee. Uh-oh. Now I can't get it into gear.
thing's built for the winter.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
got
yeah.
nice old winter
So-
tires on it.
And with this random revving, I don't even have to touch the throttle. It just drives itself. So it's great. As long as the first gear, it's like it has cruise control. Nice warm day, but no scary noises. I won't go into second gear.
I don't
Just
want
let it idle around.
I don't want to hear second gear.
I actually meant to go the other way. Oh yeah, there's lots of. Let's go into second.
Ooh, that just didn't sound good.
No, for sure. I'm gonna put the brakes on. Brakes work? Yeah, they work.
Slightly.
I'm a little worried about not getting into gear. Slightly. No, I got it the first that time. And we're good for traffic. A little bit of wheel spin on the ice. And we're back to that 2,500 RPM cruise control. We're getting a few people looking. Oh yeah, that's lots of revs. Oh, I have signal lights. I can actually signal. Oh no, signal lights don't work now.
Yeah.
They did before though. Yeah, we got a little bit of wheel spin there.
It's a great sound for a 72 bus.
Well, yeah, well, we're going the right direction here. All right, I think we'll pull this hot rod right into the garage here. Put Gus back where...
If it can even make it.
Oh yeah, no problem. And we're back to the extreme revs. Let's kill that. All right, so Gus is now back in the garage the other way, which is great. And what did we learn? We learned that it will go into reverse, first, second, third. The clutch works. We learned the brakes work. It runs. It revs high. It's not blowing a lot of smoke. That's good. Major issues with the way those carbs are coming off the chokes, and it seems like the throttle cable itself is maybe not routed right. It's sticking, jamming, so it just keeps revving. And so that's a whole other issue that we'll want to get done and dealt with, and then we can actually sync the carbs and dial it in. Steering, no weird clunks, rattles. So, you know, that's a huge success. It's been a long time since Gus has been on the road, so that's pretty exciting and a long time coming. Lots more to come. Thanks a lot for watching, and take care. All right, Curious Dude here with a final update about the carburetors on this bus and the challenges that we face. So, partially because of my own ignorance and misunderstanding, we had to go back and reset these carburetors. So these are Brosol like Solex 34s from CB Performance. And so it's simple to get these things to run correctly. Was a matter of just dialing out the throttle adjustment, which is that tiny screw that's right there on the end of the tip. And so what was happening is that if you set these carburetors to the factory manual spec in the Bentley, which has it at, I think it was like 6 thous or 8 thous of gap with the throttle blade, you will be too far open on these carburetors. And what will happen is it will basically be trying to run on the main jet, and that's no good. And that's all the problems that I was having. So as soon as you shut these right down, so you literally close those so that the throttle blade's completely shut, went about a quarter turn open on both sides, no problem. So here's a cold start so you see what it sounds like. Still struggles a little bit at idle once it's cold, but you know, once you've driven it for 3-4 minutes, it'll idle fine around 750, 800. So a little more timing, maybe a little bit more air fuel adjustment to make, but a huge improvement from where we started this whole process. So thanks for watching.
Rolling in Gus, enjoying a nice Sunday evening cruise, and runs and drives and handles well, really smooth to drive. Totally impressed, but you know what, we're gonna have a bit of a surprise at the end of the video because Gus is going to be up for sale very soon. We are for a good reason, but thank you very much everybody who's followed along with our little adventure of rescuing Gus from abandoned in an alley to having a new life. And it's going to be a great bus for somebody else to take to the next level. And it's been wonderful for us learning how to save another one. So thanks very much for watching, and enjoy a little drive in Gus. Nice to drive around town. Yeah. In fact, it feels a little more comfortable around town than on the highway. I get in a hurry, and we'll say a little bit of clutch chatter, a lot of clutch chatter if you slow grip it. So there's a little video of it warm. So we drove it, and yeah, it runs really nice actually. Nothing too crazy, no misses, nice and smooth. Maybe a touch rich, which probably is not a bad thing, in all honesty, because I know these have a tendency to have issues. So there we go. Gus the bus. Greetings. So here we are with one last look around of Gus the Crunchy bus. So we'll do a full tour of this 1972 Westfalia, and we'll talk to you a little bit about the history and the work that we've done. So this is Gus in its present state, and we rescued Gus a year ago. There's a picture here for you when we picked it up, abandoned in an alley in a rural Saskatchewan community, off the road for 13 years. It's been a year's worth of blood, sweat, and tears, let's be honest, and we're really excited that we finally are able to drive it and enjoy it.
let's take a closer look. All right, so Gus is an original pastel white bus. That's the original color. It's had at least one repaint. And other than that, you know, we've polished up the paint. We've done a few little touch-ups here and there, missing the beautiful big emblem. We've got that on the bus. We replaced a lot of hardware, the turn signal lights, all the bulbs, a lot of the electrical in there. We've got some correct 8-ply tires on there now. You can see all the glass is original and in good condition, minus the windshield. Yes, there's some rust on Gus. There's a few patches that were done years ago. Some of it looks to be professionally done, and some of it looks to be, you know, done by a do-it-yourselfer, but it's all there and it's complete and mostly original when we get inside. But you can see, you know, it's a 72 Westfalia, pardon me, and very original and overall great bus for someone else to kind of finish the restoration. We saw our job as rescuing Gus because it really was abandoned. This side's in a little better shape, as you can see, and but you know what, it needs some body work. It'll need a little bit more mechanical attention, but this is a great bus for someone to take the next level. All right, let's take a look in the engine compartment in the back hatch. So this is a 72, so that is a 1700 Type 4. And the engine is, I would say, in good used condition. It leaks a little bit. We've parked here for about 10 minutes. There's a couple of drips, but pretty good overall. When we bought the bus, it had not ran for many years. It had the incorrect system on. If you watch some of our other videos on this channel, you can see what it was like when we picked it up, but it didn't have the dual carb setup, which it should have in 72. So we bought this from CB Performance. It's a 34 Solex kit with chokes and linkage, and that's all new. All the ignition system is completely new, right, really from steering column all the way back. We have, checked over everything with compression. It has reasonable compression, 80 to 100 in all cylinders. So that's on the lower side, but you know, it actually runs and drives quite nicely. All original in here. You know, take a little look around. We've got an extra hose, but you know, not a ton of rot in there. No scary issues on there. This side, a little different. Of course, the battery tray is rotten. We'll need some attention, but this is all there and mechanically running well. It's got the correct transmission in it, and you know what? It's just a great running bus, really, considering the life it's had. So let's take a little look. Let's take a look in the back here. So here we go. All original interior, that sort of mustard finish. Even has the spare tire wheel cover. All the cabinets were pulled out. The bus was completely disinfected and cleaned out. All the wood was sanded and refinished. All the cupboards, all this cabinetry was, you know, tidied up and cleaned and sealed. Tons and tons of work done for the last year. You know, getting the bus back in a really clean and original condition. And yeah. Let's take a look on the passenger side here. Thanks, Chris. Okay, so original interior, some wear and tear. So for a few years, the bus sat with the windows slightly down when it was out in the alley. So a lot of accumulated dust and dirt and stuff, but it's actually cleaned up reasonably well. Like the vinyl, it still has some flexibility to it. I mean, some seat covers, you can survive it. We peeled off all the rubber matting and stuff that goes underneath there. The front kick panels are not there, but can be replicated easy enough where you can buy them. Matte floor pans have some pinholing and have a couple areas that need patching, but the overall pan itself is quite solid all the way through.
Same with the dog legs. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of rut, but it's all sound. You find that in the bottom of the doors and elsewhere. A couple of spots behind the anchor, which is true with all of these. You see a little bit out in the front and a little bit in the back as well, but you know, all there, and all original. Aftermarket stereo missing, but you know, dash is all there. It's a little beat up, but you know what I mean. It is what it is. It's a nice, clean, original bus. All these panels were all removed and stripped out, and then they were replaced if they needed it, or they were given a light sand and a refinish and a recoat, so they're sealed up. And let's take a look at the other side. All right, here on the driver's side, so panels are there, all the hardware, windows up and down as they should. This is my first bus, but driving the bus is a really phenomenal experience. Just the feeling when you're sitting on top of the tire and the natural position you tend to take hunched over the wheel as you cruise. It's a great feeling. So speedo works. Some of the dummy lights work well. Gas gauge doesn't. This is a common thing in a Type 2. Never got around to fixing it, but something to be attention. Has the original belts in it and all that. And of course, has the original Westfalia interior. And so again, it was all torn apart. So we'll take a closer look. Let's go around the sliding door and take a look. Right on. Thanks, Chris. All right. So my understanding is with 72 is one of the last years to have this old style of interior that you'd find in even in the split window time. So this of course is the sink on here, which drains out directly underneath. This of course would be for the water tank. There's normally a vent that would connect up through the roof, and then this is the filler hole for the water, and you can see the cap is missing, but all these pieces and all the hardware are there. This would be a storage area where part of the drain system just waiting in there. And then this of course is a it's an ice box. So you know, I suppose functional. It does seal, and I suppose it would be useful. Nice little side table there, so for making coffee in the morning or setting things on, kind of a signature part of a Westfalia interior. So a lot of wood. That wood was all replaced on that side. The tables here, I think that's called a jump seat, don't quote me. The rocker bed, it rocks back and forth to turn into a bed. And I'll actually do a little video on how that works. Here's the closet, or the quote wardrobe. Little mirror to check yourself, and all cleaned up, and an area to hang some clothes up there. And the floor. So this bus has rust, and it does, inner rockers are rotten, the bottom door track is rotten, and you know, it needs some metal work. But the floor is solid. This is surface rust. There's a tiny bit in here, and it may look scary in the video, but it is shockingly solid. So which is great. So sadly, someone did cut a couple of holes in that base cabinet, obviously for speakers at some point, but all things can be repaired. The vinyl's in great shape. Curtains were destroyed, so we tossed them out, but it's all here, and all these unique little pieces. So let us actually should talk about this too. So this has the louvered windows. I think they're called Jalousie windows, I believe is the actual name. They all work. They would of course crack open like this, and then you have a set on the other side as well, and they all work. They do not leak. None of the windows leak except for the front windshield. That's the only thing that needs to leak, but it needs a new seal and some replacement, but it's all there. The pop top, all there and in great shape. It's complete, no major cracks. There's a little bit of flaring on this corner, and it needs a seal. It never had a seal when we got it. We never got around to it. And let's take a look at the canvas, what it looks like together. All right there, so we just popped the top. And so that's the original canvas for the bus. Has all the screens in it. It has some wear up in that area where it folds over. And we looked at it. I think it could be patched with some canvas, and you could salvage that top the way it is. It's kind of cool because it is very original. But if not, all those pieces and stuff are really easy to come by and very available. So we'll take a little bit of a look
inside so you know what's up top, the pop top. So with this style in 72 with it popping forward, excuse me, this allows us to stand up tall up here. There's no bed on top of here or in behind. There's actually a cot that runs across. So literally it's just a matter of, apparently I need to hit the gym. Okay, there we go. And that pulls the cot out, and you know, it's stained, but it's all there. And there's room for, I'd say, a child. I wouldn't say an adult could sleep up there, but it's just cool, a real cool kind of piece. I'm gonna put these down, but screens are still there in great overall condition. And at the back there on the top, got a bit of a headboard area. You know, you can a ceiling, I guess. You could put some information, put some things in. So let's flip this bed down just so people can see how these work. Okay, so the way this bed works, first of all, is the table needs to be down in the down position, and underneath here there's actually two holes to kind of grab on, and you can see in the wood they're notched out. Underneath here you'd have storage. I think in this bus originally it might have even had an auxiliary battery for a heater or some sort of supply. It doesn't anymore. But so you lift this up and it sort of locks into place, and you can pull the base down and it lies down flat, just like that. And there you've got a nice, you know, 6.5, almost 7 foot bed, about what, 40 inches wide or so. I mean, I wouldn't say whole family sleeping in there, but you know, quickly converts, the foam's still in good shape, and you kind of lay out. And that's essentially how it works. To put the bed back down, you rock it up, and you can hear that as the arms engage again. And now when we push it down, it'll recess and fall back down into a position that it is. And I leave this up when we're showing it and driving it because I just think it's a really cool feature, and makes me think we should go get a coffee and enjoy a little bit more time in here. So that gives you a little bit of an outside tour of Gus. It's been a great adventure with my son. We bought this together, rescuing it, and it's time for it to go to a new home, but for a very good reason. We had intended to keep this bus for as long as we could ever imagine. My son's 13, and so we thought it would be a great thing, you know, to start driving when he's 16. But the truth is that I had another option to get a bus that I've had on my wish list my entire life. It's a bus that's from our community. It was sold here brand new in 1974. And so, you know, it's time for Gus to go to a better home, for someone to restore it to the next level, and for me to begin a new adventure with Van Gogh. So let's take a look. All right, so here is Van Gogh. Van Gogh is a 74 Westfalia, sold new in our community, and is dirty and completely original curtains, all original cabinetry, the stool, the center pod with the cooler, the beautiful orange and plaid interior. Watch for a lot more videos around the story of Van Gogh and its history, but this is why we are going to be getting rid of Gus. So this, like I said, is an original bus, sold new in our community, and still resides here to this day. It busted an engine some 20 odd years ago and has been parked under a tarp ever since. Never driven in the winter, only used as a summer toy, and like nearly 100% rust free. Is going to be a fantastic project bus. So be sure to follow us and watch as we bring Van Gogh back to life.
All right, so thanks for following along with our adventures with Gus the Crunchy Bus. Stay tuned for more with our new bus, Van Gogh. Take care.